amazing morning to you. Rise and shine up and at 'em. It's a phenomenal new day. You're officially tuned in to Cannabis, discussing the business of cannabis. And I am she. She is I. I'm Colette Ramsey. It's a pleasure to be here. I do my curtsy because I am so excited about who we are and the task that we have ahead of us to address and educate and conquer this industry known as cannabis. How have I reached you this morning? Great morning. Are you getting the young people ready? I am so excited. Let me just tell you, you would just think that I just have a whole gang of young people getting ready to go to school. And I do, actually. I do. Not birthed through me, but everyone that I hold near and dear to me who has young people that are getting ready for, is it elementary or middle school or high school or college? And I could start throwing and spewing out names, and I don't want to miss anyone. But I'm so excited. I am so excited for the opportunity that you have to expand your mind, to actually think, not just to gather information and then just to regurgitate or spew out what someone tells you and then get a grade, that you are at a formidable time in your life where you can absorb and think and process so that you can be a better adult. That's what it's about. So our program here affords you that opportunity, because the truth of the matter is, if you go to any other station, as you have well learned, that all they're going to do is have a great talent that spews out the narrative that they want you to know, versus having a real conversation that is not scripted, it is not teleprompted, it is produced through research and information that clearly is going to benefit you. Educate, enlighten, and empower. That is the goal here on this amazing morning. So you should already know. That is what we are going to delve into this morning, whether you're watching us on WHPS TV 33 or Comcast 90 or Cannabiz.tv or Roku or Facebook Live or streaming live or however you're reaching us this morning, that it's school time. It's back to school. And so where does that put cannabis? That's where we're going to go today. And all the preparation of getting the young people ready for what that school term looks like and all of their supplies. There are a lot of other components that we have to address with preparing them as well as young people who need medicinal cannabis. And so I don't know if you've really thought about that, but for the parents and the caregivers and the like who know that a young person needs their medicine to be able to fully function throughout their school day, what does that look like from a legislative perspective? What does that look like from someone who's diligently trying to get someone to understand that it's not just because my child just wants to recreationally smoke, but I need this for the care and the well-being of who they are physically and psychologically. And so we're going there today. But before I get there, I just have to commend this honorable body for the City of Highland Park Council. There have been a series of workshops, and on yesterday there was a workshop in preparation, of course, for the regular scheduled meeting, and the marijuana ordinance was on the agenda. And so you had a plethora of stakeholders in the community who showed up, of course, to listen to the line items that the city was addressing, and I believe the majority of that group was there to address or to see what the conversation would be like for the marijuana ordinance. And they are diligently working to draft a legislative body piece that is indicative of what the industry asked to uphold, the licensing from the state level, what works for a municipality, specifically for governing businesses who've been in partnership. But what struck me more so is for the residents of this great city of ours. And so much so that they asked and they opened the conversation up to those who were in the room if they had some questions or some information that they would like to share. And I'm so appreciative that they afforded me the opportunity to share. And if you all know, what did I talk about? Social equity. And my whole position as the founder and executive director of CASE, the Cannabis Association for Social Equity, that our goal is to have more than just what the law states from Michigan, for example. That yes, it's great that you've identified 19 communities. And yes, that's great that you have, if you've met those criteria, a discounted fee. And that's great if you're going to have individuals that help us walk through the process. But the truth of the matter is, the majority of us, people of color, people who have been disadvantaged or disenfranchised, don't have the wherewithal financially and the ramp up capacity to jump into an industry right now and to secure funding and success in the product or the service. So it's still going to take us some time to ramp up, just like we referenced in Massachusetts that they had 123 permits allocated, but only 5 have been in use, because the truth of the matter is, whereas we need the opportunity, we're not best prepared for it. And so in that conversation yesterday, I asked the city, this honorable body, the legislative body of council, to consider what that looks like from a mentorship, that you have established businesses that are coming in here for grow, and the people who are here who have an affection for that industry need to have a mentorship and a partnership and a tie into that business so they can grow and they can learn, and then they can secure monies, and so that at the appropriate times when they want to branch out on their own, they are able to have a level playing field. And so I just appreciated the conversation. I just appreciated the ear. So there are a couple of more adjustments that they are making, and then of course I will be at every meeting, and I will be able to share that with you, because I think that that is important. I think that's the challenge that we have across this country, and I believe that Highland Park will be the first to really get it, and that we will be the model for all other municipalities, because yes, Illinois did it and they got a portion of it right. Kudos. Massachusetts did it. They got a portion of it right. Absolutely. California, absolutely got a portion of it right. But I believe the whole mentor piece really sets the tone and really creates a bar. So I'm very excited about what the future holds for us here, and then to be able to have that type of model and take it out to other municipalities within this great state of ours, and then of course to other states as well. That's what CASE does. CASE is a national organization, membership based. I will be sharing with you shortly the social media tags and the website and the membership information, because we are getting it all together. And great, amazing morning to my CASE members so far. Thank you all so much for your dream and your vision, and to have the foresight and an open mind to how we can collectively accomplish these goals. That's what it's about. So now we're going to discuss young people. Let me give you a quote that opens us up this morning. Back to school time. What about cannabis, medicinal and recreational? Let me give you an overview. Did you know that for the 2019 school term, there are 56.6 million students who will attend elementary, middle, and high schools across the United States? 56.6 million. Out of that, 50.8 million students are in public schools, 5.8 million students are in private schools. And the breakdown of that 50.8 million public school students source is 1.4 million to attend pre-kindergarten, 3.7 million to attend kindergarten, 35.5 million will attend kindergarten to 8th grade, and 15.3 million will attend grades 9 through 12. There are 4.1 million who attend 9th grade, and in that, the grade students typically enter high school. So that's the matriculation amount. About 3.7 million students are expected to graduate from high school during the 2019 and 20 school year, including 3.3 million students from public schools and 0.3 million from private schools. So we have a plethora of young people that we have the charge and the ownership to educate in a complete way. And this morning we'll discuss how cannabis plays a part in that. Let me give us an opening quote. It is from our own Malcolm X. Education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. So there's no irony that we're preparing our young people to have brighter lives and more successful engagement in their thinking and their adjustment and being able to maneuver in this United States of America and beyond, as where they are right now, and then developing into young adults. And then for us as adults, because education is an ongoing process. It doesn't just stop. Like we shared with the Honorable, she is my First Lady, Michelle Obama, in her book, Becoming. You just don't become. It doesn't just stop at, I've reached this area and I'm here, so I've become the First Lady. No, I'm becoming. So you're constantly growing, you're constantly learning, you're constantly pushing yourself and being open to the universe and ideas. And then I'm going to throw this in there. And for those of you, and I'm going somewhere else with it this morning, but I'm going to put it in there because I can. And those of you who have a spiritual acknowledgement and a spiritual awakening, the truth of the matter is, you can't ask for any more than you believe, no matter what it looks like. You all heard the stories growing up, David and Goliath, the smallest beating the mightiest. You've been in the experiences and spaces where you couldn't have imagined how you got through, but you got through. It's like being in a space where you ask for a miracle, and at the end of the day, you say, okay, I want a miracle, but I don't want to be a part of it. That's like the crossing of the Red Sea, but you don't want to be in the sea as it is crossing. A lot of times we have to go through something in order to reap the full benefit of the grace that it will be afforded for us to be better. And you have to know that that is what happens and can happen in this industry, no matter what it looks like. That if you get the information, if you create the conversations, that you can then accomplish a task that will benefit everyone multiple fold. And so education is our passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. And it is our charge here on Cannabis and through Cannabis TV in case to make sure that you're prepared to adequately and successfully enter into this amazing industry. We're going to open up with a quote today. It's coming from Zooming In with Simone Guy. She created a coverage piece for recreational marijuana and its effect for California schools. And so let me give you a quick overview because it gives a narrative and then we get to where we are today. So on November 8th, 2016, recreational marijuana was legalized in California. Marijuana dispensaries sprawled in metropolitan areas in Southern and Northern California. Schools quickly felt their presence, and the Fremont Unified School District is one of Northern California's star districts. And it's going to be interesting as we share this few minutes of a clip with you. It will outline what the people, their perspective of cannabis, and then as it related to medicinal, as it then relates to recreational, what it looks like in a school environment, and then to equate that to legislation. And the truth of the matter is, if you are not best equipped as an adult, then you realize that everything that you do, everything that you say, specifically if you're part of a legislative body, has a direct impact on the people in which you say that you're there to serve. Government is about service. It's not about you just milking the ills and being able to come up with all the spoils of everything and take that on and ride off into the sunset. You're supposed to create a space and make an innovative impact into a world that needs your leadership through service. That's the truth of what legislation really is. And some of us have seen along the way that those who should have a direct impact in a positive way that effectuates a change in the community do reap some of the benefits. Okay, this is America, I get it. This is a capitalistic society. It's democracy, I get it. But at the end of the day, the people and the needs of the people should come first. That's really what it's about. The people and the needs of the people should come first. And so that's what I am employing us today. That's where we are with education. So no matter how you've met your young people, I believe you should let them know every day that they're brilliant. Young people are brilliant, that you are intelligent, that you will open into the spaces of this institution called the school, and you respectfully ask questions. There's no answer that is a dumb answer. That's not how this works. So if you're not willing to open up your mind, open up your the intellect, the mind's eye, because we talk about there being a difference between the brain and the mind, then you won't get what's for you. And that's the bigger challenge that we have as adults. As adults, we don't do it. And we're constantly trying to point the finger and blame everybody else for what we're afraid to do for ourselves. And then you'll live in this regret. And then you know what happens. And then you'll constantly look back, as we do, at every facet of this industry and the like of what it produces and say, oh, look at what they've done. Oh, look it. And then you're mad at what they've done, but you haven't done it. Whose fault is it? I'm just asking. There's no way I'm going to sit in a space and know that there are opportunities coming and I'm not going to reap the benefits of that. But maybe that goes back to how you see yourself. And the truth of the matter is, I don't know, we're getting ready to go to the clip, but the truth of the matter is, I believe the majority of us are challenged, specifically in this industry, because we don't have enough faith that we can do something different. Now, you know, everybody who's been growing for their whole lives and in the black market and all of those things, but why all of a sudden do we act like we don't understand how to make it work on the other side? Well, guess what? I'm encouraged because our young people now have a chance. There's several universities that now have programs specific to cannabis. So you can go and get a degree to be able to grow cannabis, assess cannabis, process cannabis. Your business acumen in the marketing and the consumer engagement can lead you into the cannabis industry. Your finance acumen can lead you into the cannabis industry. Your packaging can lead you. Your social media can lead you. Wherever you are, transportation can lead you. Real estate can lead you. You don't have to shy away from it. So as we begin the conversation about preparing our young people for school, let's get ready to go to the clip. It's how recreational marijuana affects California schools. And it goes back to 2016. And then I'll bring us up to date. So if we're ready, we'll go to the clip.
Dr. Brown has two sons. The older one grew up in Texas. He graduated high school with honors and got a law degree from Rice University. He now enjoys a successful career as a diplomat. She never expected that her younger son, born and raised in California, would take a drastically different path.
He told me that older kids had given it to him when he was in middle school, and they got it from medical marijuana dispensaries.
Medical marijuana had long been legalized in California by the time Dr. Brown's son started using it. But adults from 18 to 21 can only get medical marijuana through their primary caregiver, theoretically.
They went to a doctor and they would say, I can't sleep, or I have some pain, and the doctor can't really test for that, and it's not their regular doctor. It was what they call pot doctors. So it was kind of, basically everybody knew this was kind of a scam.
It is a scam that doesn't seem to bother most people. After all, marijuana is generally perceived as a non-harmful herb that makes you feel good.
Is right for you. Medical marijuana is not addictive and non-habit forming. Medical relief can be administered instantaneously. Side effects can include euphoria, a sense of well-being, love, and extreme happiness.
According to the Monitoring the Future study, among all grades, perceptions of harm and disapproval of marijuana use has continued to decrease over the past 20 years.
Because all of the other kids were doing it, he thought he didn't have a problem. This whole culture of, it's okay, marijuana is not harmful, you can do these things, and it's going to be legal soon anyway. And that's another thing that he would say. It's not harmful, I can't die, I can't overdose, those kind of things he used to give me as kind of reasons why it was okay for him to do it.
According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, marijuana use can lead to problems, which takes the form of addiction in severe cases. 30% of those who use marijuana may have some degree of marijuana use disorder. People who begin using marijuana before the age of 18 are 4 and 7 times more likely to develop a marijuana use disorder than adults. Dr. Brown's son falls into this category. He got increasingly addicted to marijuana in his high school years, when he used it multiple times a day. He progressed to running away from home to avoid treatment and getting arrested for bringing marijuana to school. By the time he was approaching 18, Dr. Brown had to face a bigger challenge.
We told him, when you get to be 18 in California, you can get a medical marijuana card and you can use medical marijuana. This was true before legalization. And a lot of friends of his were talking about getting these cards so they could use marijuana recreationally.
When Dr. Brown's son turned 18, she realized that reality was worse than what she originally feared.
I found out he was actually hanging around these marijuana dispensaries, and he started working for someone who grew marijuana. And he started making money actually by making hash oil. And it's a very dangerous thing because you have to use butane. And there's a lot of hash oil explosions where I've read about them, that they've had explosions where houses have burned down, people have been killed, and it actually became illegal in California.
On November 8th, 2016, recreational marijuana was legalized in California. Marijuana dispensaries sprawled in metropolitan areas in Southern and Northern California. Schools quickly felt their presence. The Fremont United School District is one of Northern California's star districts. It is made up of 42 schools serving nearly 35,000 students in grades K through 12. It had 14 National Merit Scholars and 11 California Gold Ribbon schools in 2016. Since late 2016, the district councilor, Yang Xiao, saw a distinct change.
After the adult recreational marijuana was legalized 2 years ago, the school district has been collecting data on how rampant the marijuana abuse is on our campuses. And data shows that there's at least a 12% increase on average for the last 3 years, which indicates that more and more students are using marijuana on campus. Not only that, they also sell marijuana, and many of the students get expelled because of the sales of marijuana on campus.
According to Marijuana Business Daily, as of July 2018, an estimated 70% of cities and counties in California had actually prohibited cannabis companies of any type from setting up shop in their jurisdictions. But major metropolitan areas are exceptions. On November 28, 2017, at the San Francisco Board of Supervisors meeting, Katie Tung tried 3 times to impose a buffer zone for marijuana dispensaries, drug dispensaries, and daycares. They were all turned down.
So the first one is the 1,000-foot buffer zone and including daycare center as defined under the California Health and Safety Code.
Okay, no other questions about this particular amendment. Madam Clerk, on the item, please call the roll.
Supervisor Breed.
No.
Breed, no. Supervisor Cohen.
No.
Cohen, no. Supervisor Farrell. Farrell, no. Supervisor Fewer. Fewer, no. Supervisor Kim.
Aye.
Kim, aye. Supervisor Peskin.
No.
Peskin, no. Supervisor Ronan. Ronan, no. Supervisor Safai.
Aye.
Safai, aye. Supervisor Sheehy.
No.
Sheehy, no. Supervisor Tang.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Supervisor Yi.
Aye.
Yi, aye. There are 4 ayes and 7 noes with Supervisors Breed, Cohen, Farrell, Fewer, Peskin, Ronan, and Sheehy in the dissent.
The amendment fails.
Given that that previous motion failed, I just wanted to put it back to a 1,000-foot radius without daycare centers, which is what we have right now.
There are 5 ayes and 6 noes with Supervisors Breed, Cohen, Farrell, Peskin, Ronan, and Sheehy in the dissent.
The motion fails. Supervisor Tang?
Okay, thank you. I promise this will be the last one on the buffer zone. Okay, so, all right, so my next motion then would be 600 feet buffer zone.
Yi, aye. There are 5 ayes and 6 noes with Supervisors Breed, Cohen, Farrell, Peskin, Ronan, and Sheehy in the dissent.
The amendment fails.
Supervisor Tong's motions were not only turned down, her colleagues passionately disagreed with them.
I think by expanding the limits around schools and daycare centers, what we're saying is that there's something inherently dangerous or bad about these shops. And I just really disagree with that premise. I actually think that the war on drugs has been what has been dangerous for our society. There is documented evidence, plenty of it, showing that where you make drugs legal and regulate them and prevent kids from getting access to them and allow people who are already addicted to substances, to not penalize those individuals, that they use less drugs and get better, and that neighborhoods get safer. And, in Portugal, where all drugs are legal, they've seen the society transformed and crime go down. And
At that meeting, Supervisor Ronan's motion to remove any restrictions on the distance between cannabis dispensaries was passed. However, Ellen Lee Joe, social worker and 2018 candidate for San Francisco special mayoral election, said Ronan does not represent the community's real voice.
I was in many of the public hearings. I remember clearly in my head.
We said it to them, we do not want a cannabis store next to 3015 San Bruno because there's a preschool and a daycare right next to that proposed location. You know what they say? They said it is necessity to have a cannabis store that kills people's voice, because 85% of the people live nearby within the 600 block. They said, no, thank you. Stay away from our kids. Stay away from our residential area. But yet, they passed the regulation. They allow them to have a cannabis store right next to daycare.
Before the mayoral election, according to political contributions reported to the San Francisco Ethics Commission, San Francisco Supervisor Mark Farrell and Board of Supervisors President London Breed, who was last elected mayor of the city, had received more than $50,000 each in reported political contributions from the local cannabis industry. In total, the members of the current Board of Supervisors received at least $153,000 from owners, employees, lobbyists, and firms associated with the cannabis industry in San Francisco.
So we got a couple of different things happening, right? I hope that you got it. Look, I'm all for responsible governance. Actual foot. Yes, I don't believe that you should have a provisional center next to a school, pre-K, church, rehab facility. Absolutely. Like, it's no different than how we govern liquor. You can't have liquor by, 1,000 feet or whatever from a school or a church. Come on, you all. It's the business of it. So there's just hypocrisy in that part, but I'm just going to leave that over there because I know that the legislation is going to address what that looks like, okay? Where it's actually situated. But what about the need? I mean, cannabis has been around forever. Stop it. People know where to go. They've always known where to get cannabis. But now all of a sudden, when it becomes a mainstream, we want to act like we don't know about it and what to do with it. Stop it. You heard President Obama say he did inhale. I mean, isn't that what you were supposed to do? I'm asking. Now, there's for me, a responsibility when you start dealing with young people. Same responsibility that you should have with them with liquor, I believe. Same responsibility you should have with them with alcohol. Same responsibility you should have with them with food. Same responsibility you should have with them of overindulgence, perhaps with video games or isolations or anything that is not understood or monitored or governed can cause problems, I believe. And absolutely, outside of a medicinal arm, but a lot of young people, specifically in urban and inner cities, are suffering from trauma. And they've not been diagnosed. PTSD. And they've not been diagnosed. They're anxious. They could have depression. And so you never thought to look at perhaps this is how they medicate to get through what they're getting through. Everyone just thinks that they want to be high, but maybe that's a component of dealing with something that has yet to be diagnosed. Remember, there's always something different. We always talk about symptoms versus issues. The bigger issues are if you don't want young people to walk around, specifically in urban and inner cities, and perhaps rural now as well, high, then maybe you need to understand what gets them, why they need to get high. Maybe there's a sense of hopelessness. Maybe there's a sense of breakdown in the household. Maybe there's a sense of unemployment. Maybe there's a sense of inadequacy. But we don't want to address that, huh? Because I don't believe that there's a huge number of people, specifically our young people, that are smoking just to get high. I believe that they use that to numb something so they don't have to. It's the same way adults use substances to numb and to try to forget for that moment, only to then be awakened after the substance wears off to still have to deal with the reality, but maybe not even knowing how. And as children, they don't know how to articulate it. As adults, we're not necessarily having the real conversations with them, the pressures of being in school, the peer pressures, the bullying, the like. So maybe that's where we're really going today. Again, if we're not prepared to have the real conversations within our communities about cannabis, how do you think it's going to have an impact on young people? Let me go to the line. Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Happy Wednesday.
Oh, happy Wednesday to you.
Yeah, I was viewing the video, and what I got out of it is that even those who were fighting against allowing these industries to be close to schools and daycares. It appears that through the money game, they were able to pass and persuade people anyway.
Yes.
But what they have to realize that the parents and the adults that are inhaling or eat edibles or whatever they're doing, most of them have children.
Yes.
And they have children that's daycare age,
Yes.
and they have children that are school age.
Yes.
So I think, in my observation, is that you continue to educate those children of their environment and what's going on and what it's all about and the dangers or the not so dangerous. But you still have to educate them, and you can educate a baby in the womb.
Yes.
So I think the education part should be the responsibility of the children. I mean, the adults, as well as the businesses, to have an education system set up. I just spoke to a friend last night, and his grandson is on some kind of medication that the side effects is suicidal.
See?
So again, so now he has to be counseled and under some kind of suicidal watch at the age of 14 due to pharmaceutical prescriptions.
See what I'm talking about? And stay there, and stay there for a minute.
The
and I tell
education part
anyone,
is important.
yes, and stay there for a minute. And I tell anyone, there is no way. I'm telling you, there is no way I would have anybody, but particularly my young person, having to take some type of medication that has the side effects of suicide, depression, anxiety. Are you kidding me? So that's the best we can do for the young person is to give them something that can create a different imbalance that will cause them psychologically to want to take their lives. Versus giving them cannabis, stop.
And that's what I don't understand about these old heads that have bought into the negative images.
Yeah.
Do you not understand that they do those same negative images about you as a human being?
Yes.
And they've been doing it for years.
Yes.
You everything but who you really are.
Yes.
And so they're doing the same thing with this particular product.
Yes. Great point.
Just keeping people continually blind and sidetracked all the way.
Yes.
And then the sad thing about it with our people is generational of the blind leading the blind, and so from a child on up, you're trained to believe the white man's ignorance or whoever's ignorance to keep you at a certain level that will never progress.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And think about it, you all. I don't understand the callers I see. I'm going to get to everybody. I don't understand why we would be apprehensive and feel that we can't talk to our children. I mean, remember those of us who grew up and you heard your parents talk about, remember like when rock and roll was it? And people would say that's the devil's music, and that you couldn't equate and you couldn't relate to your child at that time because the parents didn't talk to the children because there was a disconnect. I don't understand how we ever thought that we could have and should have a disconnect with everything that we have to deal with as people of color in this America. I don't even understand it. Or you say that you think that they're doing something, but you're afraid to talk to them about it. Let me just tell you this much. If you don't talk to anyone in your family, and particularly young people about everything, you are in for it. You should be, especially someone that you birthed, someone that you helped bring in this world. I should be able to talk to you about everything. I'm going to talk to you about sex. I'm going to talk to you about drugs. I'm going to talk to you about religion. I'm going to talk to you about relationships. You are going to get every bit of information coming from the source versus you learning something on the streets.
That's right. Because if you don't teach them, somebody else
Right.
will, and you
They
might
will
not want
teach
their
them.
influences
And you don't
because
know
their
what it is
influence
they're going to
won't
say to
be
them. Right.
in their benefits.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That's just as like, and everyone, I'm going to go there because we can. That's just like everyone tells you, oh, everyone abstinence, and the little girls keep your dresses down, and blah, blah, blah. And you're up in church, and the little girl comes up in church pregnant.
Right. Uh-huh.
Oh, we don't know what happened. No, yes, you know what happened. You
Right.
absolutely know what happened. You weren't
Exactly.
conscious enough to be realistic and say, guess what? When you were a child, you knew what you did.
Right.
Stop it. Like, why do we act like we forget who we were in our developmental years? That's one thing. I commend my parents. They were very honest about everything. My mother used to, my mother, bless her heart, she wasn't as forward as my dad. And my mother would say, oh, well, I know sometimes you might, and I'm being her voice, little feelings, and you're growing up and you might like a little boy. And I'm like, mother, what are we trying to get at here? Like, where are we trying to go with this thing? But she was trying in her own way to be able to talk about what sexuality looks like and to let me know that, again, if they had their way with it, they want you to wait until you're grown and wait until you can be responsible and emotionally and all these things. And I respected that. I mean, I don't understand. It's no different than cannabis. I have a really good friend of mine, and his family uses cannabis medicinally, and he found out that his son was smoking. And so he sat his son down and said, well, let me just tell you, first of all, if you're going to smoke, I'm just appalled that you are a follower in this. If you're going to smoke, you need to learn everything about the plant. You need to be able to grow it so you can be able to supply it to your family members. And so you're supposed to know what you're smoking so you won't end up getting anything else that could happen to you, because we talk about everything and that is how we do things. I don't understand why we can't have those conversations.
I'm glad you brought that up because while people are so afraid of cannabis and its danger, well, it's more dangerous when you're a consumer, when you can be about the business and you know what you're growing. You have your own land, you have your own chemistry. You learn about it through a business prospect where you can have the business and the empire and build your community.
Yes.
And educate your children.
Yes.
And go on. You need to stop the generational curse where you're stuck being a consumer and constantly believing everything this ignorance is teaching you to slow you down and keep you unproductive.
Yes. And to your point, and to your point, think about it, you all. It's no different than the pharmaceutical drugs. You don't know all the components that they put in them. If you pay attention, you see the side effects. If you get cannabis, you don't know if it's processed. You don't know who the grow is. So you don't know what you're smoking.
That's
and
right.
it can have its adverse effects. What
happened to
eating? Right, or eating. It's right, or rubbing on your body, the CBD oil. It's no different. And let me just share with you all, and this is just my announcement. I'm going to put it out there, and I'll be able to bring that to you in a couple of weeks. I'm hoping to be able to announce a school. So I'm in a conversation that I am hoping comes to fruition, that I will be able to present to you an online cannabis school where you can get certifications in all the areas of cannabis, and it will be something under my ownership and a group of individuals' ownership that will take it from the grow to the business to the marketing to all the and everything else in between. Because you will not be in a space where you won't get the full education. So I'm very excited to be able to let you know that I'm working on that. I got approached from some amazing people out of the East Coast who asked me would I be interested in developing a school, and I said yes. And so we are in the works of now putting together that structure and that curriculum. And so look for that. Look for that. So yes.
Okay, I look forward to looking for that. I'll be in touch with you on the airways.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. Everyone, that's what it's about. We're going to give you information the right way to make sure that you can make this industry work for you. For everything. In everything. Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Queen.
Good morning, King.
Excellent information this morning.
Thank you.
You know, Queen, you know, and what you're saying, you're absolutely right. You got to do the research.
Yes.
Because I can remember back in the 70s, a lot of times we would be out places and whatnot, and people would hand you a joint, but they would have it laced with angel dust. And I remember many individuals, they never came back from it, from that trip. And so, like you say, you have to do your research.
Yes.
Because some of those are out there using cannabis as a weapon.
Yes.
Like I said, I use the CBD oils and whatnot, but I get mine out of Europe.
Yes.
You know, over in Europe, understand, it's like over in Europe, they don't even allow Wi-Fi in the school system amongst children because of the side effects of young children's brain cells. So they will put you in jail if you allow Wi-Fi in their school system amongst young children. Okay. So these are things that we don't know. Right. And you know, I learned or heard that through study that, you know, the four number one causes of death for Americans today, number 4, cancer, number 3, congestive heart failure,
okay.
Number 2, what is it? medical malpractices and whatnot,
okay.
Medicine and surgery. Number 2, and number 1 they say is food.
Food, yes.
Food,
yes. Our abuse of food, yes, yes.
And we don't talk about it.
Nope. No.
Because you're going to consume food and water and air.
Yes.
3 of the most important to continue life.
Yes. And stay there for a minute, King, and if you all don't get that, think about it. Like, when you work to clean your system, you become so sensitive to everything that's in the universe. Like, that's the space that I'm in right now. I don't eat meat, period. I mean, like, no meat, like chicken, none of that. I don't know when's the last time I've had fish. And my immune system, like anything in the air, like if you all hear me cough or whatever, everything triggers me now because I'm so sensitive to things, because I'm working to clean myself and keep myself cleansed from what's going on around me, the impurities that they put in food. Like when you just really start thinking about it, you would be really mindful about what you put in your temple when you really just start thinking about it. And as adults, we're supposed to have that discipline. But what do we say? Oh, well, diabetes runs in our family. Oh, well, my big mama had high blood pressure and gout. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that you have to have it too.
You're absolutely right, Queen. Because genes has nothing to do with you transmitting those things that come from your parents. Genes is nothing but a blueprint of your system. It's nothing but the blueprint. That's all genes are. It represents the blueprint.
Right. And then you make choice with what you know.
There you go.
So we make choices. So if you know that that is what it is and we have the proclivity to, then you make some different choices.
That's right.
But maybe that's the truth of where we are and everything that we are going through, cannabis alike, is that we don't want to have the real conversations so that we can make the best choices. So, King, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Love you, Queen.
Love you more.
Have a blessed day.
Okay, you have a blessed one as well. Let me go to the other line. Thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's my turn.
It's your turn.
Hi, good morning, Colette. This is an awesome show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I won't even say who I am, but I'm a valued viewer.
Okay, yes.
And dedicated. And I thank you for the clip.
Okay.
And you look fabulous.
Oh, thank you. I try. No.
I know, right? I know.
I know who this viewer is, and you keep me in line on every possible occasion, so thank you. I tell you, you're right. It takes a village.
Hey, all of us. Yes. We all do a little bit. Yes. I do want to say a couple statements, and I won't hold you. One of them is marijuana.
Yes.
I'm listening to us talk, and we say things like medicinal.
Yes.
Or recreational.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what drug out here or pharmaceutical or so that can even be put in 2 categories.
Okay.
They say people abuse the pharmaceutical drug. So that was never considered as recreational.
Right.
Because it was abusive and it was hurting you, killing you, overdosing you. But yet they say marijuana, oh, we're going to make it over here for recreational and we're going to put it here for pharmaceutical. I mean, I see it spreading itself out.
Yes.
And that, to me, that's a good thing.
Okay.
Also, the school, sign me up.
Okay.
I need to know, do I need a scholarship? Do I need a grant? Do I need a loan? What I need, sign me up.
Gotcha. I
I'm ready.
got you. Yeah, no. And so
put my name on the list.
I got your name on the list. And to your point, you're absolutely right. Marijuana, the categories of marijuana, stop it. With recreational being passed, it's out the window. Everything now is just cannabis. Stop.
Come on.
Like, I mean, that's really where it's going right now. So you're not going to have to go into a dispensary and show your medical card in order to get a higher strain. Stop it. It's all everywhere. Going to be allowed. Remember, this is, to the original clip's point, it's about the business of government. They had to start somewhere to get your money. So I'm going to start right here and make it comfortable for you and let you believe that it's medicinal, right? Because I can't just jump out there. But then you knew that the majority of other people who were coming to get the caregiver cards were actually using it for recreational. But they were able to classify on something for medicinal, or they were able to just pay for the license, to pay for the, from somebody that they knew or whatever the case may be. And so that's where we are right now. It is the business of this thing. So I got your money medicinally. Now I'm going to get, so then I got a majority of the states bought in, and we're fighting for that. Now I'm getting you recreationally. So I'm going to add more monies and fees on to bring more revenue into our municipalities. And then it's just going to be, then once it's federally approved and decriminalized, then I'm going to be able to add more money and put it into the banking system. And then it's just, cannabis. It won't be anything else. It won't be from medicinal, recreational. It'll just be cannabis.
That's right.
Yeah.
The CBD is what's new, what they're popping out for extracting it or advertising it or promoting it more so in the last few years, in my opinion.
No, you're totally right. And that plays into the show that we had last week. I tell everyone, if you thought you don't know where to go, hemp is the way to go. Hemp, everybody, hemp. That's a component of the plant that doesn't have the THC levels for the euphoria, the high, the like. It is the component of making the CBD, which fuels everything in this industry right now. The oils, the lotions, you name it with CBD. You need to grow hemp and process hemp. And then remember on the show last week, we talked about Hemp Creek. We got Tech Tap. You have everything that you can make from hemp.
That's right?
And then the pilot license in Michigan for that is $6,000. We have tons of vacant land. You can do a pilot program for hemp. And it has a restorative purposes, so if there's contaminants and all the likes in the soils, then it can help regenerate that. Come on, you all. But if we don't know, how would you know? Well, maybe now you know. I appreciate your call. I got one more clip I want us to get to today.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Okay,
have a good day. I'm going to sit back and watch the show.
Absolutely. Everyone,
continue to be awesome.
Oh, you as well. Thank you. Everyone, the last clip we're going to show this morning is from Sunday Morning Matters. It's a digital edition. And it states, California bill passes allowing marijuana to be in schools K through 12. So California, there are 8 states overall that have now approved medicinal marijuana in classrooms, in schools. But this clip shows California. It's only 6 minutes. So if Tim says we're ready, we can take a look at this clip before we close out the show. So let's take a look.
The State Assembly approved a bill this week that would allow parents to administer medical marijuana to their student on campus. The bill would also allow the use of marijuana in non-smoking form in K through 12th grade schools. We want to bring in our panel here for Sunday Morning Matters Extra on YourCentralValley.com. Larry Powell, Alex Tavlian, Umberto Gomez Jr. Gentlemen, you hear this, medical marijuana in schools, and I don't know, I think a lot of parents say, whoa, hang on here. Larry, I'm going to start with you because this is a hot button issue.
As an educator, I don't want it any place near campus because it always goes further than thought. And I've seen the devastation of marijuana before it had the new substances added to it. And it was devastating to kids and to families. So I don't want it anywhere near schools. Find another way to do
It's
that
illegal
kind of
right
thing.
now. Let's make this
Right.
clear. It's illegal. Marijuana
Right.
cannot be within, what, 1,000 yards
Yeah.
of a school,
Yeah.
if I'm not
But
mistaken?
it's not your daddy's marijuana. It is far more powerful than ever before. I don't like it anywhere near schools and what's going on there. There are a lot of things we can do short of marijuana that can help families.
You know, Umberto, it's getting closer to the governor's desk, and we've known that Governor Newsom has the tendency of being lax on certain laws. Do you think he'll be lax on this one?
I don't think so. It's easy for us to say or give a determination, but when you have seen kids with tuberous sclerosis, when you see kids that are epileptic, and CBD has been shown, has gone through the clinical trials from phase 1, 2, and 3, has shown tremendous amount of benefits to reduce those particular action potentials in the particular areas of the brain. So to me, you have to make a clinical judgment. And if that is beneficial to the child, then who are we to say that they can't have that at schools?
We're smart educators who are in
Right.
the business for 43 years and saw the devastations of that kind of thing going excessive.
CBD and THC.
Do it off campus.
Umberto, you're in
Yes,
favor
do it
of
off
seeing
campus.
medical marijuana administered on campus?
If it's prescribed by a physician,
wow.
It's prescribed by a physician, and this doesn't mean that it's going to be in whatever smoking form.
But one
yes.
could say some parents are not always as responsible as they need to be.
Right. Then
Alex?
you don't prescribe it.
Alex,
Well, it's not, and here's the deal. I mean, I went through high school at the peak of, medical marijuana cards. I know I could name right now more than 2 hands worth of people that I went to high school with who were getting medical marijuana cards for no reason. They were able to get access to a card because a doctor was willing to sign off on it. And that's, first of all, it's the responsibility of doctors in this day and age, especially with all sorts of medication, not just marijuana. But if that's the threshold of just a doctor prescribing it, we're in a world of hurt because there's not the regulatory infrastructure to reprimand doctors for irresponsibly prescribing medications that are not needed by the child.
There is a regulatory agency that does that particular regulatory, or does see who's prescribing more or not.
Right.
Because why is it? What's the difference, Dr. Powell? I know, because I've seen kids with this stuff, and I've seen the benefits of it, particularly with CBD.
Do it off campus. That's what I'm saying.
How about if the
we
child
can
has
send
a
kids
seizure?
off campus for sex education and other kinds of things, we can send them off campus for
If the
treatments.
kid has seizures on campus, I just think
There are
have
other
to
things you
measure
can
But
it.
this is,
Yes.
now, real
You
quick,
know.
before we put a punctuation on this, part of this is that it's up to the school district whether to implement this or not. So the state could say, yeah, we're going to allow it, it's going to be lawful, but then it's still up to the school districts to decide whether or not they're actually going to implement the law. If you're sitting on the Fresno County Superintendent chair there...
I'm going to be down at the meeting saying, do it another way. Help the kids, but don't do it at campus, because as soon as you start that, it's exactly what Alex was talking about. It always gets abused. It always gets abused. And I've seen the negative effects of marijuana and what happens with families when it wasn't with this heavy concentration of the crazy stuff. So you start opening that door, it's a Pandora's box for schools.
You can't even
There's a difference-
take...
there's a difference between CBD
You can't
and
take an
THC.
aspirin at school without parents,
But
you know.
but guess what? They allow particular opioids to go on through the market. They change the label. They change it from being a short term to a long term, okay? And I know which agency did it and was pushed by who. Okay, the big pharmaceutical pushed that issue. So to me, if you have good control factors, good compliance, good regulatory, I just think we just have to be tremendously
California
responsible.
has never had good regulatory on most of that stuff.
That's a federal
And
because
that's-
it's a Schedule 1.
Sure, but you're talking about a state law that will be
State law
regulated
that
by
affects
the state,
schools, not
and you're talking about
federal law.
doctors who are regulated by the state, not by the feds.
Yeah.
But more importantly, in all of this, you're saying, well, it's up to the school district to decide, Alex, on. The bigger problem is, usually when it comes to state laws, especially when it comes to education, they start as prescriptive. They say, well, it's up to you. It's up to the school district. They can make the choice. And then it becomes mandatory. And that's what we're seeing more and more. And I mean, there's 4 letters that are always tossed around with school districts, and it's the ACLU. They get involved in a lot of fights about what school districts are and are not allowed to do. If this begins as a prescriptive law where school districts have a choice, it won't be a choice for very long.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the governor plays this one out. It'll probably hit his desk, and we'll see if he signs it. Governor Brown, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, he vetoed it?
Yes,
Correct,
he did.
correct.
All right, there you go. We'll see what happens. Guys, thank you for being here.
So appreciative of that clip from Sunday Morning Digital Extra. And we'll see. Is Michigan going to be next? I believe that it will, to approve medicinal marijuana for the classroom. Like anything else, I'm just saying, but we'll keep you informed right here on Cannabis. Our time is up for the day. I pray that you have been educated, enlightened, and empowered, and in all things get an understanding. I'm going to leave us with a quote from Confucius that states, "Learn as if you were not reaching your goal and as though you were scared of missing it." Never want us to miss a goal, but you have to get the education to make sure you can get there. Make your moments matter. Make today amazing. Look forward to seeing you bright and early tomorrow morning for Coffee and Conversation with Colette right here on WHPS TV 33. See you then.